So once you understand how precognitive impressions influence behavior and identity, and you want to get relief from what becomes self-attack thinking. So the brilliance of the bad baby story is the little girl was self-attacking, bad baby. What does that do for her on a positive note? It identifies, it keeps a fight response going, and it gives her a locus of control. Oh, I exist. I'm a self. So self-attack thinking, you want to interrupt it because it exhausts the nervous system. This is just a little bit of my background. A lot of study goes into this work. We want to make sure you heal, not re-traumatize. I've written a lot of books that can help with power struggles, with relationships, with adoption, with the creativity that's not, that we need to be able to be successful, and attachment. But remember that precognitive events can be overwhelming, and they can create over mental body. We don't want you to be over mental body. To change, you need new information. And it has to be informing you, not just experience that repeats your shock pattern. And when we get these unmet needs that the infant has that don't get met, the brain gets overwhelmed and the brain responds with behavior strategies. What are yours? What are your behavior strategies under stress? And so one of the things that lives inside an infant experience is need. They have needs they cannot meet on their own. The need for protection, the need for temperature regulation, the need for food, the need for contact. When those needs aren't met, it goes into shock. It goes into that inner freeze response. So unprocessed emotions and sensations are still energy, and it can become self-attack thinking because it hasn't sensory motored. Now here, it took me a while, but I realized, oh my gosh, an infant can feel like it's dying at birth. Goes from a freeze response, not movement, doesn't feel safe. And then the mental body takes over. And then it becomes a habit. So what we want to do is identify our need shock, words, impressions, filters, extrasensory radar. And we want to interrupt the behaviors and thought forms that are locked into birth trauma. Remember that trauma creates a brain state, not just an idea, but a whole felt sense state of perception. That's what you want to unravel. And it creates during our need, which is called the attachment phase of infancy. Birth trauma starts when there's danger, with a freeze response in their body. Repetitive circumstances. How many of you keep hitting your head or doing the same thing over and over again? I often think it's the story trying to be told in the nervous system. And we want to interrupt, we want to bring the story to the surface so we can put it to rest, because birth was a moment in time. Then we look at the power struggle set up in a birth. A push-pull with the cord wrapped around the neck, maybe forceps, C-section. A lot of push-pull can get created in a power struggle birth. And then again, what is the felt sense? What is the brain state of your struggle? Because ultimately, we want safety, trust, compassion, cooperation, pleasure, a good enough life, not a forever trauma. Once you understand the nervous system, you can start working directly to shift birth trauma. And that's what I'll teach in my online course that's coming up starting in mid-September. Then we have to look at development that is physical, emotional. I mean, imagine what this infant is experiencing: mental, relational, and spatial. That's our body's ability, all of those things. So the goal in healing birth trauma is to balance our arousal states. Now, we don't want to just meditate it away, though. We want to be able to integrate it, know the story good enough, and have new options of behavior, not just pausing, but being able to play. You want to know the difference between shock and trauma. Shock is that complete overwhelm. It's like you don't even know you exist or where to orient to. Trauma, you really usually still have a sense of self. You can be overwhelmed, but you know you exist. You don't want to treat someone in shock the same way you would treat someone who's in trauma. So it's good to know the difference. I've talked about the physical, emotional, and mental needs. Those are all needs. This baby in the middle has no ability to motor. It's already upright. It can't push against gravity. It needs to actually push against the floor and have to reach and pull and use that body. So we don't want to sit our babies up before they can get there by themselves. Here's the need for contact. It's so important. And when we don't get it or we can't organize it, we make up identity beliefs. Maybe nobody wants me. I'm not lovable. So we want to find out, what are the difficult behaviors or the hidden story? What's the hidden story in your own birth? And again, we want to repair the imprints. So I have books loaded with resources about this, for adult behavior, for how to, help clients, how to unravel your own birth trauma. And then my 9-session online class is 2 sessions a month with access to a membership site loaded with resources. Because you can heal this stuff. Even though it happened so long ago, you can actually get to the bottom of it. And that's what I want for you. So I'd like to leave a little time now if there's any questions. So I just want to thank you for joining this online course. And if you want to go to the birth trauma, if you want to join it, you can get a $50 discount just using the checkout free webinar. So write that down if you want to join and check out the birth trauma course. But I'm going to stop my screen share now, and we'll go back and go ahead and write in the chat or unmute yourself if you don't know how to use the chat. Any questions? That was a lot to cover in an hour, but I hope it was a worthwhile introduction for you and gave you a sense of possibility, that you're not forever broken. Your children are not weird for no reason. I help a lot of parents repair with their children, because sometimes the mother went through a trauma or it shocked the whole family and the family didn't recover. That's sad. You want the family field to recover. And we do for ourselves as adults, we recover, and then we repair with ourself and with our child. And I work with adult children and their parents. I work with the little kids and their parents. The youngest I've worked has been 6 weeks old. So, and I helped an adopted child go through the motions of birth in a warm pool, get activated and aroused. And then we could say, oh, this is your new mom and dad. And she was like, oh, okay. So the nervous system is pliable when we meet it. And it's nice when you can meet it when the infant is young. So I'm looking at the chat to see if there's any questions I can answer. Don't see any. 5 new messages. Let's see. Oh, thanks for being on, Lisa. Yeah, thank you all for coming on and seeing some of your things. I don't see any specific questions, but you can always follow me on Instagram.com, Annie Brook Therapy. I share lots of tools and resources. I also have a Facebook Live every Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, unless I'm, on a little vacation, but most Fridays, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, it's facebook.com/The Brook Institute. And then I also have a YouTube channel where I will post this. I'll break it into short little vignettes and you can watch it again. The main thing that we want to do is remember to regulate our nervous system and let ourselves, learn to stay on the surfboard while the discomfort of your birth story that happened long ago rises to the surface and passes away. That's the metabolism. When you can name it as birth trauma, you can actually tolerate the uncomfortable sensation rather than going down the rabbit hole of getting re-traumatized or having to withdraw and hide from that experience or having to fight that experience. You learn to go, oh, that's my birth trauma coming to the surface. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to tease apart my identity beliefs. I'm going to imagine what I'm reacting to, and I'm going to put it into context. I'm going to connect the dots of my experience. One of my favorite quotes is by Florida Scott Maxwell, and it says, when you can claim the events of your life, all that you've been and done, which may take some time, you are fierce with reality. Now, when we can go back to precognitive time, that's pretty amazing. We can go back through somatic tools to precognitive and we can heal. And I see your question now, Rick. Getting toward the end of projects, then wanting to move on. Yeah, it could be because the finish line was not safe, or you got overwhelmed at the finish line. And that sometimes can be a circumcision imprint, it can be a birth imprint, but there's something about jumping out and away. And so what you want to do is you want to get that big circle in the universe and collect all the parts. And then you want to land in yourself and maybe even celebrate the finish of something. Have a little celebration. Then you can go on to something else. I want to thank you all for joining me. You can go to anniebrook.com for more information. Come on any of these resources, and a blessing to have you all. And please share this healing possibility in your life. If you're with a kid with a difficult struggle, maybe you just send a little love back to the birth. Like, wow, I wonder what's the hidden story in that behavior. And that's how we start to get a little space so we're not self-attacking or being outraged and angry or fearful. Join me for the next live course. It starts in September and it's 2 times a month for an hour and a half on Tuesdays, 1 o'clock Mountain Time. Look at the links here or the links below, and you really get personal attention and the benefit of seeing me demonstrate in the course with sessions with people, and also how to create a group field that feels safe and connecting. I hope to see you. Sign up on the website, and thanks for your interest in healing birth trauma and helping the children as well as yourself.